Good morning friends and welcome to the pre-market view. US markets were up about 0.6% as we have some progress on the talks between the two parties there, and it looks like that we could have a deal in place a little ahead of the actual debt ceiling, which is 16th of October. And also we have seen that the markets in US have actually gone up in the last about 4 to 5 days. Which is definitely comforting. The feel is that the tapering would definitely get delayed because we had a mixed set of data, and the fact that the resolution of this current impasse in terms of the debt ceiling is resolved, then definitely it could lead to some kind of rally across the markets. European markets too were up about 0.2 to almost about 0.3%, no major data points. And when we look at the Asian markets, most of the markets are up about 0.5 to 0.6%. Nikkei in particular is up almost about 0.5%. Some of these markets were shut for the last couple of days, so they are catching up with the rest of the markets. The yen too has depreciated against the dollar, and currently it's quoting at about 98.5. And talking about the SGX Nifty, finally we have been able to touch this 6200, the magic level, after a long period of time, and the SGX Nifty is suggesting that we are going to open up around 6200 levels. It's up almost about 60 points on the possibility of some kind of a resolution of the debt ceiling issue in US. Back home friends, our markets continue to show a lot of strength despite some of the negative news coming in the form of the CPI data as well as WPI data. And though this thing came in, the overall markets continue to remain strong. Particularly in the limelight was the tech pack. TCS was up 4% ahead of the numbers, and most of the technology stocks actually managed to touch their all-time high levels, particularly stocks like Wipro, even Infosys, and some of the other names. And even mid-cap as a sector, we have seen good strength there for the past few days. The volumes are also suggesting that some of the punters and the HNI clients are back in action, which is definitely a good news for our markets. In terms of flows friends, FIs were net buyers in the cash market to the tune of about 740 crore. The domestic institutions were sellers to the tune of about 630 crore, and even in the index futures we have seen FIs buying to the tune of almost about 715 odd crore. On that note, let me invite Sadhna to take us through important F&O cues and ideas on the F&O side.
Good morning friends, let's have a view on derivatives. In yesterday's trade, we have seen that long positions were built up by market participants as around 6.77 lakh shares were added in open interest, and cost of carry also increased by 5%. In spite of weak IIP data and weak inflation, but we have seen that FIs were net sellers of approximately 850 odd crores. Put call ratio increased from 1.10 to 1.12, indicating put option has added 28 lakh shares in open interest and call option has added around 12 lakh shares in open interest, which is clearly visible in the options activity. And call strike of 6,200, 6,300 and followed by 6,400 had seen a good activity, and 6,000 and 6,100 put option has seen a good activity. Overall, if we see, 6,000 might act as a good support on intermediate basis, as this is our weekly VWAP point, and yesterday also market took support from those levels. And from intraday perspective, we can see 6,236, which is our straddle break-even point on cards. As once market will break this level, we may see higher targets on upside. From intraday perspective, one can go long on Sun TV with a stop loss of 418.30. Thank you.
Here are the important news and events that we are tracking today. First of all, the companies will be announcing numbers. TCS, we are looking at a net profit of almost about 4,530 crore. And remember friends, TCS would report the best numbers in terms of the quarter-on-quarter dollar revenue growth as well as profitability. The stock is already at all-time high, and yesterday also it was up 4%. So expect some more positive action in the stock today. Remember, the results are going to be announced post-markets today. HDFC Bank would be reporting steady set of numbers at 1,970 crore. Last quarter, there was a bit of increase in the provisioning towards the retail loan. So that's a number that the street will be keenly watching out for. Bajaj Finance, we are looking at a net profit of about 165 crore. And Development Credit Bank, the smaller bank, we are looking at a net profit of almost about 28 crore. Reliance came out with a good set of numbers overall, and the actual net profit was at 5490 crore versus expectations of about 5400 crore, and this profit was driven mainly by the petchem business, where there was a stronger than expected growth of almost about 32.6% quarter on quarter to about 2504 crore, and the net sales of the company also was up 18.4% at 1,03,758 crore. The refining business had some issues, and the refining margins were a little below about $7.2 per barrel, but because of the rupee depreciation, a large part of that was mitigated. So overall, the market is positive on Reliance Industries numbers. Both the WPI as well as CPI inflation data that came out yesterday were negative. The WPI inflation was above estimate to about 6.46%, and the core inflation also was at 2.1% versus about 1.9%, and even the CPI number that came in was at about 9.84 versus about 9.52. So we are not seeing any positive data points in terms of inflation, but somehow the market took this in their stride, and most of the banking names actually recovered after the announcement of this data. Ideas some negative news, as the international committee set up by the DOT has proposed to put a penalty of about 600 crore on Idea for the alleged violation of the license conditions. So expect some negative reaction in the Idea stock in today's morning session. Finally, some more negative news on the promoters of the FT group, as the Enforcement Directorate has lodged an FIR against even the promoters of the company. So expect some negativity around FT stock in today's market. Reliance Industries, as we discussed before, the numbers were much above market expectations, and they have also got a license to facilitate the internet and the voice roaming services in Singapore. So one can go long on Reliance with a stop loss of 853 and a target of about 896 to about 913. Fortis, some positive news is the company has sold stake in its Hong Kong asset Quality Healthcare to Bupa for a total sum of about 2,100 crore. So one can go long on Fortis with a stop loss of 102 and a target of about 109 to about 112. That's it from all of us, friends. Have a good trading session and see you tomorrow at the same time.